everybody. I'm Adrienne Cooley.
And I'm her husband, Kevin.
And we have been pastors at Harvest Church for 20 years.
20 years.
Married for 30 years.
30 years.
And, we want to welcome you today to a life that works.
Hey, it's not a perfect life, but it's a really good one.
It's a good one.
It works.
It works.
And we love helping people live a life that works.
Yes.
Jesus said, I came to give you life and life more abundantly. And we want to encourage and inspire and equip people to live that kind of life.
Yes, we do. So, babe, let's talk this morning about Psalm 23.
Absolutely. One of my favorite Psalms. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Now, if you're a Christ follower, we know that my God shall supply all your need, and that's awesome. So your need's taken care of. But here, I believe God is saying, not only am I going to supply your need, I'm going to give you what you want.
Yes.
And one of the greatest success principles, I believe, on the planet is deciding what you want. The reason that most people do not have what they want is simply because they haven't decided yet what they want. What do you want?
Yeah. So, the way to start with what do I want?
Yeah.
Is to just really start with imagination.
That's good.
And today's episode is called See It and Be It. So we really want to talk to you about how you can literally see it and then be it.
No, for sure. There's actually a cool story in the scripture where Jacob, God's servant, he's trying to move away from his father-in-law, and he says, hey, look, I'll take all the spotted and speckled cows out of your herd after the ones that get the new ones. And he said, sure, that's a great deal, because they were all solid colors. But he took branches, cut stripes and spots, and put them in the water trough. So when they came and they were drinking the water and they saw spots and speckles, when they reproduced what they saw.
That's
so if you
amazing.
can see it, you can be it.
That is such an amazing story to me.
And it really is.
It reminds me of a story I want to tell you about. I want to take you back to the Mississippi Pines where I grew up, and a time when I was probably 8, 9, 10 years old. I'll never forget this. It really just, I can close my eyes and I can just be there. We had a pond in our pasture. We had 13 acres and we had horses and cows, and I grew up on a farm in the backwoods of Mississippi. And I'll just never forget, there were times when I would maybe be discouraged or feel like, maybe we didn't have enough of this or that, or I would see a friend who got something that maybe I wanted, right? And the Lord would convict me not to covet. And I would go back and I would take a quilt to the back 40, as my dad would say, back behind the pond. And there was just this field of flowers, which I saw them as flowers. Now I know those were weeds. But I would lay my quilt.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
I would lay my blanket out on that grass, and I would just lay there, and I would just look up, and I remember just seeing these towering pines, and I would look over to the side, and there was the lake, and I would see horses off in the distance, and I would just lay there, and I would start with just being thankful, and I would thank God for what we did have. And I remember, though, I just remember so vividly dreaming of the day that I could travel the world, that I could go to the top of the Eiffel Tower, and that I could go to Hawaii, and I would just lay there. I remember as a little kid just laying there dreaming of just going all over the world, and I get teary-eyed just thinking about it, babe, because I've been to all those places.
Yep.
I've been to the Eiffel Tower now, and
Right.
I've been to Hawaii multiple times and around the globe, and helping you preach the gospel, and and it's just amazing that it started with that imagination, and it built in me, and God began to I think take that hope that I had of a future that I knew nothing of.
Right.
Just a little Mississippi girl. And God began to just plant more seeds and, bring people into my life that would, like you, that would take me all over the world like that.
What's funny, though, is because, and that sounds great, and has been great, but it's not like you married some rich guy who's taking you all over the world. I mean, I am a rich guy, but I didn't come that way.
Wow.
I grew up in an underprivileged part of town. I was raised by a single mom until my later teen years when I moved in with my dad. And, my mom worked 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet. And I had a very kind and benevolent aunt in my family that, thank God for her, or I would have probably suffered to, it still would have been, I had a roof over my head. It's not like I grew up in the Great Depression or anything, but it's just perspective. But we weren't wealthy by any means. And I always say, I was a white boy that grew up in the ghetto, and you were a country girl that grew up in a double wide trailer. But it doesn't matter where you started.
Yeah.
If you can see it, you can be it. And I had visions in my heart of going around the world and preaching the gospel. I saw crowds, and I saw multitudes receiving Jesus, and we've seen those multitudes. We've preached to them. We've shared the gospel with them. We've enjoyed the travel. We've not just traveled for that, but we've traveled for pleasure as well.
Right.
And so, I want to ask those that are watching today, what have you imagined about your life? Because you have an imagination, and it can either work for you or it can work against you. So make sure that your imagination is godly, that it's not working against you, that you're not imagining the worst case scenario, that you're seeing yourself in a future that you want to be in.
Yes. As you're talking about that, Kevin, I just, we weren't planning on this part, but I just wanted to say to you, if you are maybe in that time of life, where you're trying to decide what has God called you to. Like you said, you weren't a rich guy. I didn't marry a rich guy. And quite honestly, I was dating a guy whose both parents were doctors. And, I could have gone that direction.
Yeah.
However, the crazy thing is, one of those times we were in Maui, I was laying on the beach in Maui, and you were and you were out canoeing with your friend that lives there. And I got a call from a friend from high school letting me know that guy had passed away because of drinking so much that his liver just gave out. And so had I gone a way that maybe I thought, would get me out of poverty, in my own strength.
Right.
But thank God that I followed his plan for my life.
Yeah, his plan's better than my plan.
Yes. And I married a guy who told me that you were going to take me and we were going to live in a hut in, third world country. And I was up for it because I just wanted to follow the plan of God. But, when we see it and be it, I'm not talking about just wanting stuff, and wanting this great life.
Right.
But it's really, it starts with imagining God's will for your life. And when we do that, he just blows our mind.
He does. So if you are in a place in life and you just know you can have better, do better, stick with us. We're going to give you some handles today. Or if you've already got a great life, I'm so thankful for that and rejoice with you. We're going to help take you from good to great. And it can get gooder. Hallelujah.
Yes, because the Bible says to go from glory to glory. He wants us to go from glory to glory.
For sure. That's exactly right. All right, so I see you got a book over there on your table.
I do.
It's beautiful. Some of my favorite colors. And it's called Believe Anyway.
Yes.
It was written by my girlfriend.
Yes, so Believe Anyway.
It's a wonderful book.
This is actually the first chapter of Believe Anyway. This episode is based on that first chapter called See It and Be It. And I call it my Terry Savelle Foy chapter. She wrote the foreword for this book. Was so sweet to do that. And there's even a little mini vision board in here. We're going to get to that later on in the episode. But grab a copy if you haven't already of Believe Anyway. It's full color. There's all kind of fun things. Okay, let me show you this.
And I'll say too that I've read the book. It's for anybody and everybody. It's a workbook. It will help you to process and figure out what you want. Because like I said, most people don't have what they want, or most people who don't have what they want, it's simply because they haven't decided. This book will help you identify and decide what you want out of life.
So I should have picked it out first, but I was looking for this page. How cute is that?
That's pretty cute.
This is like the armor of God girl style.
Come on. All right.
And so there's just all these little interactive, activities.
Yeah.
My whole big thing is that we're spirit, soul, and body. It's not just spiritual. There's also fun in life. And so there's actually a little bit of fun in every chapter. There's crossword puzzles and all kind of word finds and stuff like that all throughout, and just all kind of fun things.
More stuff you can shake a Mississippi pine stick at.
But at the end of each chapter, which is so cool, and we're going to get to that in just a little bit even more, but we talk about the baskets of life and setting goals. Cool. So we're going to get to that in just a little bit. But
all right.
Yes.
So I'm going to read a scripture, and it says, Proverbs 23, verse 7 says, "For as a man or as a woman thinks in their heart, so is he, so is she." So what you think about, you bring about.
Yeah. So, if we actually believed this concept, Kevin, we would clean up our thinking because we would realize, do I really want what I just thought?
Right.
And then another step, do I want what I just said? We can either say what we have, or we can have what we say.
That's so good.
And so
that never gets old.
Yeah. So whatever it is that's going on in your life, maybe what you are experiencing in life is not, what you're seeing is not what you're wanting to be.
Yeah.
And so then what do we do? What would you say to somebody that finds themselves there?
I think I'm going to read another verse.
Okay.
I think the scripture says it best.
Okay.
Psalm 37:23. "The Lord directs the steps of the godly. He delights in every detail of their life." So have you ever been trying to go somewhere and you're traveling and you realize that you're lost?
Yeah.
Theologians say that the real reason that the Israelites wandered in the desert for 40 years is because Moses would not stop and ask for directions.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding.
Because he's a guy.
Right,
How many times have we been going somewhere and I'm like, just stop and ask?
But what do you do, though? If somebody calls you, back in the old days, you'd stop at a payphone. Now, kids, a payphone is this thing that used to be on the side of the road. You put a quarter in anyway. Ask your grandparents. But you'd call and say, "Hey, I'm lost." And the first thing you would ask that person is, "Where are you?
Where are you?
Just tell me where you are so I can help you get to where you want to be."
Right.
So that's where we're going to start today with the practical handles. We're going to help our audience identify where they truly are, where they really are.
Okay.
Because in Jim Collins' classic book, From Good to Great, he says you have to face the cold, hard facts. You can't candy coat it. You can't whitewash it. You can't lie to yourself and tell yourself it's better than it really is. You got to look at the cold, hard facts and start there. So that's where we're going to begin.
Okay. So this is an exercise that you can do. If you get a pen and paper and just write this down, or in your notes on your phone. But I want you to ask yourself these questions, and I want you to be honest, okay? Because self-awareness is everything. What is your life like right now?
What do you mean, what's your life like?
Here's what I mean. Describe your walk with God.
Ooh, okay.
Describe what your family's like, good, bad, and ugly.
Right.
Describe your financial state.
Okay.
Your careers, your grades.
Yeah.
Are you making Fs right now in school? Are you struggling with your career? In some way. How about your physical fitness, your health? Where are you? What is your mental and emotional state right now?
And these
Write
are
it
areas,
down.
I mean, financially, if you're struggling, but like with your physical health, that's a place where people can, for some reason, lie to themselves for longer. Because it's not like, you could look in the mirror and go, I see, speaking of handles, I see love handles. But you can lie to yourself and go, "No, man, I got this hoodie on. I look great."
Right.
But
someone who does that to themselves.
You don't know how bad it is until you have an emergency.
Yeah.
And then, it's better late than never, but man, you don't want to wait till you have cardiac arrest till you start working on your health.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So you have to identify, where am I really? Am I overweight? Do I eat a bunch of processed food and sugar? Do I drink enough water? Do I get enough sleep?
Mm-hmm.
You got to recognize.
Yes. And so where this is different than just self-help is this next part.
Okay.
So there's also here's the next part. Once you write that down where you really are,
Yes.
then I want you to write beside each one of those, you know what? By faith, where do your eyes of faith see you being?
There's that godly imagination.
Yes, that godly imagination. So go back with me to those Mississippi pines on that quilt, and let's describe where God says that he wants you to be when it comes to your health and your wealth and your, spiritual walk, all those areas that we just went over.
And when you're describing these things, use as much detail as you can.
That's
and
good.
Talk about it in present tense or even in past tense.
Yes.
You want to give them some examples of that?
Yes. So speaking of health and physical fitness, he was actually describing me earlier because I am someone I joke.
Not intentionally, I promise.
Not intentionally.
I'm not dumb.
But I teasingly say, I think I have whatever the opposite of anorexia would be is I look in the mirror and I think I look way better than I really do.
Oh, girl, you look
and
good.
it's not pride, maybe it is, but it's more like I don't want to be honest. I don't want to face the self-awareness that I need to face. So for me, one of my goals this year is I'm my perfect weight of, you thought I was going to tell you, but my perfect weight of something 8. It rhymes. So,
Nice.
yeah, so that is a very measurable goal. So for
Right.
me to get there by a certain point this year,
Right.
I have to know that this month I want to lose 5 pounds.
So the difference is not just saying, I'm going to lose weight this year.
Right.
You're making it measurable.
Yes.
Because denial is not just a river in Egypt,
it's me looking in the mirror.
or it's someone who says, I'm just going to keep charging stuff to my credit card,
Yeah.
as opposed to cutting their spending and saving or reducing their debt or getting a side hustle to bring in more income.
Yeah. Or just saying, this is just how I am. You can like it or lump it. I just tell people off, or I just lose my mind, or,
Right.
I'm just afraid. I have phobias of everything.
So we're going to keep it in present or past
Yes.
tense.
Yes.
Like, I wrote and published my book this year.
Yes.
So I'm saying it in past tense, even though maybe it hasn't happened yet.
Yes.
But if you do want to copy my book, go to harvestmobile.com.
Yes.
And if you order now, we'll throw in a second copy for the same price as the first one.
Oh my goodness.
It's the only deal I could think of on short notice.
So Kevin, talk to us about the science of believing.
The science of believing. So you
That's
got to
a
get
section
your
in each.
RAS in gear, your reticular activating system, because what that does is when you want something or have something, then you start, that part of your brain, it starts seeing it everywhere.
Right.
So remember when you used to want a convertible?
Yes.
And you would know any convertible on the road.
Yes.
You
And
would notice.
it was that there's something that happens in our brain
Right.
that just connects differently and starts noticing every convertible. At first it was a Jeep because I wanted a Jeep. And then I realized, you know what? Convertible. So the thing about the convertible was when I was a little girl, I spent summers at my aunt's house.
Okay.
And she had a convertible Bug. This was in the 70s. And I remember she would pile her kids and us, all the cousins, in her convertible Bug and take us to the country club where she would go play tennis and we would go swim at the swimming pool. So my
Okay.
whole life, I wanted a convertible and I wanted to live at a country club and take my kids to the swimming pool and play tennis.
Yeah.
And how funny is it that it's almost like it was a scientific thing in my brain, like that happened, that in the world calls this, you're manifesting things, or the universe is bringing things to you, or whatever. That's
The
kind
law
of
of attraction.
Yes, the law of attraction. But in reality, it's actually scriptural. And it's just physiologically
Yes.
like part of it's science. It
Right.
all agrees. The word and science.
In the book of
actually-
Romans, it actually says, it's in chapter 4, it says that faith, it calls things that be not
Wow.
as though they are.
Yes.
Now, the difference is we don't call things that are as though they are not. We don't say, if doctor says, oh, I'm sorry, you've got cancer, you go, I don't have cancer, I don't have cancer. No,
Right.
that's denial. That's not faith. But what faith does, it says, I don't deny the fact that been given this diagnosis
Yeah.
of cancer, I just deny cancer's right to stay in my body because by the stripes of Jesus, I'm healed. You
Amen.
take a truer truth, a greater truth, and you exert its dominance over your
Wow,
circumstances.
that is so good.
So you call things that be not, things that God has promised, things that be not yet in your life, but you say them as though they are.
Yes.
So this is a faith principle.
Yes, it is. And that
And it'll
makes
work
me,
for anybody. It's
Yes.
the law of faith. Just like gravity will work for anybody who jumps off the roof of the building, gravity's going to work.
True.
The law of faith will work
Yes.
for anybody, whosoever will.
Yes. And Kevin, one thing I think about with this situation, even with the convertible, it's not like I went through my whole life like, I have to have a convertible. I really want this stuff. I want to live at the country club. No, I actually didn't. You actually taught me this when we first, maybe we're dating or when we first got married and you were asking God for money for a missions trip. And he said to you, don't ever ask me for money for that again. Your part is to seek me first.
Yep.
And he said to you, my part is to add all these things to you.
That's right.
And you know what? I desired those things. And that's so neat. That's all. This will just get me again because of how much God loves us. Because for me, I was going to be a nurse and I stopped that because I wanted out of poverty. And so I was going to get myself out of poverty and I wanted to do this and I wanted to do that.
Sure.
And I was going to be a nurse practitioner and all this. And
there's nothing wrong with any of that.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with hard work and trying to pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
I knew that God was calling me to ministry.
Yeah.
And so I really actually laid all that down. And I encourage you, whatever God's calling you to, his ways are so much higher than yours. If you can start to see what he sees in you instead of what you want to see, what I want. I mean, we live in a country club right now, and there's a pool right up there.
That's amazing. After the pandemic, we put our house on the market, and 4 hours later, it sold. And cool thing after cool thing.
It's crazy.
Got a house in that crazy market for a steal of a deal.
A steal of a deal.
Oh man! But it's the favor of God because favor ain't fair.
That's right.
And when God's hand is on your life, and when He wants to bless you, nobody can stop it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, though, we stop ourselves by not believing. You got to sing that old Journey song. Don't stop believing.
Oh man, I wish I could join in with you, but for your sake, I didn't.
No, that's enough. But let's talk about the baskets of life because how do we, eat an elephant one bite at a time? What are the 7 bites or the 7 baskets that we need to kind of categorize our life into?
Okay, so
to have a balanced life.
Yeah, so this is at the end of each chapter of Believe Anyway, and it's spiritual. That's a basket.
Okay.
Personal, family, financial,
yes,
social, career, and health. And guess what? I just learned of another basket.
Oh, really? There's 8
So
baskets?
if you have Believe Anyway, write this one down. And it's one more that some people are starting to use.
Yeah.
And it's called environmental.
Ooh.
Isn't that good?
That's interesting. What does that look like?
It looks like, surrounding yourself in a inspiring space or, like maybe for some people, they live in the South and they really want to be in New York City. And so they make that their goal and environmental.
New York City.
Right. Or New York and they want to be out in the suburbs.
Sweet
they want
home,
to be in Sweet Home, Alabama. Yeah. Or just whatever,
environmental.
Downtown versus,
Yeah.
by the water, whatever.
I like that.
Isn't that neat? Yeah.
Tony Robbins, a self-help guru kind of guy, he has found that typically people are going to focus on one, maybe 2, but one of these baskets or areas of life at a time.
Yes.
Why is that?
So it's focus, focus.
Broken focus leads to failure.
Yes. And I think we even almost like naturally know that, when I like by memory say all of the baskets, oh my goodness. Am I really going to admit this? The one that I would always forget if I was just saying it by memory.
Yeah. See, we're trying to help people have a life that works, so you got to be honest.
I got to be honest. It was physical and health.
But you don't forget that one anymore.
I don't. It's at the top of my list now because I'm focusing on it.
There you
but
go.
that's what Tony's trying to say when he, talks about that. So
Gotcha.
I encourage you right now to look at those baskets of life and think to yourself, what are the ones that I need to focus on most? Because some of them you might be like, oh, that one's good.
Because some of the baskets aren't as full or overflowing as the others.
Yeah.
And, when we might have friends of ours that they do really well in a certain basket, and we're envious maybe isn't the right word, but we respect what they are doing in that area. And we're like, oh, wow, that inspires me. That sharpens me. How can I get better in that basket of my life?
Yes. And for us, I remember this happened one year, several years ago. We were like, we don't have any friends. I guess we'll go eat worms. No. But we were like, we need friends. We need to put a focus on that basket.
Yeah.
So do you remember what we did? We made like a hit list, and we picked 6 couples, and we're like, it took us all year to hang out with those 6 couples, but have them to our house. And
also
we're like,
showed us that we're way too busy.
I know, but that was amazing because we by say July, we're like, oh my goodness, we only have gotten together with 2 or 3 of them.
Right.
Well, we had probably hung out with other friends, but we really upped our social game that year. And it's been amazing because it's continued ever since then. So what basket of life do you need to spend some time in prayer? Because here's the thing. We've got to get a vision for our lives.
Yes,
and what is a vision for your life? Vision, we're talking about see it and be it. And so, really one of our main mentors, Jim Weidman.
Brother Jim.
He married us. He has been with us through it all. And he says it this way. What's a vision, Kevin?
The way God said it's going to be.
That's right.
For you.
Yes.
Or in your life.
And so when you start there, from that place, you get your will in line with his will.
Come on.
And then you have word to back it up.
Yeah.
And you just see it and you just be it.
Preach a woman.
Preach.
All right, so let's talk about vision boards for a minute, or vision. I have a vision book.
Yes.
So this is this cool leather-bound book that I ordered, got my name on it, and I've got on the first, it says life has an expiration date, so wake up and live the dream.
Wow.
Don't roll over, roll out. Conquer your morning and you will win the day. Now, if you win enough days, you win weeks. If you win enough weeks, you win months and years in your life.
Okay, let's get real. I was really vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
So how long have you had that in the front and you're looking at it
every day? And it says, my morning routine is on point.
Did it look like that when you put that in there?
No, I struggled with it for about 2 years.
But you got it now.
I got it now, girl. But for 2 years, I would look at this and just feel condemned. I'm like, my morning routine's not on point.
But what did you do? Did you quit? Did you what kept you going?
It was discouraging. I kept looking at the vision. I kept reading it and declaring it over myself as if it were true.
You kept seeing it.
I kept seeing it, and eventually I started being it. And I'm not out of the woods yet, but I am on my way.
That's so cool.
So I found out some things that I know are God's will. I've got them in this book. Morning routine was the first thing, and they line up with, I have some declarations that I speak over myself and my staff and team and friends and loved ones. There's our new house, and there's a stack of money. I don't know about you, but we need a little cash in our life. That's my amazing body right there. I just cut my head off and put it on. That's funny, but hey, I'm going to look like that at least for a minute before.
But you're measuring. Checked just recently your body fat
percentage. I'm down 3% in my body fat. My goal is 10% body fat. I'm not going to live there, but I don't know if that's sustainable. But I want to see my abs one more time before I get too old. But I'm going to jump down to 10%. I'm about 18% now. And then I'd like to live between 15 and 17%. I'd be happy with that. But I weigh in, I check my I track my macros every day. It's very, very intentional. You don't just see it and be it and look at a picture of a buff guy and eventually you're a buff guy. You've got to put some habits and systems in place to create the results that you want. Because again, we're reading a couple of great books, Atomic Habits. We're reading Craig Rochelle's. Hey, Pastor Craig, thanks for listening. We're reading his great book called Lead Like It Matters.
Yes.
And so it's not a people problem, it's a systems problem.
Yes.
So anything that you have in your life, you have the system in place to support that. So change your systems, change your results.
So good.
Yeah.
And so that has been such a huge thing I've learned in this book is that systems produce behaviors. Behaviors produce habits, and then habits produce results.
Come on.
And so that's what we're talking to you about today. We just are sharing with you a few systems. There's so many more that we've discovered, and we want to share them with you. Why would we keep this to ourselves? We have been able to see it and be it to a degree in our lives, and just to the point that we have a life that works. It's not perfect. It could be better. We're growing.
We're going to keep growing and keep moving forward.
But we want to invite you to join this journey with us. So, you know what? Go to our websites, adriennecooley.com, harvestmobile.com, embassyofhope.org.
Yes.
Go to our websites, and there's resources. There's online courses, happy coaching. There's books. There's messages.
I've got 3 books.
Tons of messages on our website. This guy is a preaching machine, and you will laugh and you will cry, and it will move you, Bob. Our kids watched VeggieTales when they were little. Sorry. But
all right, put a bow on the show, girlfriend.
All right.
What do we want them to go away with? The number one thing.
We want you to go away with hope.
Yes.
The number one thing is hope.
You can do this.
Yes. See it and be it. And you know what? If you're not seeing what you want, then change what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not seeing what you want in life, look higher. Mm-hmm. Look at his word, look into his word, and his word will help you see yourself way God sees you.
Yes.
And then you will begin to see everyone else around you differently and everything else around you differently. You can see it and be it.
So follow us on Instagram, PK Cooley, Addie Cooley. Follow us on Facebook, Kevin Cooley, Adrienne Cooley. And I'm still on Twitter, K Cooley. Follow me on Twitter. I tweet some cool stuff.
And go and subscribe. Subscribe to this podcast.
Yeah.
If this brought value to you, if you know someone who could really use this today, you know what? Share it. Share it on your socials.
Give it away.
Yeah, copy the link and text it to your friends and family. If you have a family group like we do, put it in your family group, text message group. Just share it out and let it help us spread the happy, like I like to say, and just get this message out, because who doesn't want a life that works?
We're out of time for today. We're so thankful that you tuned in, that you listened, that you watched. Please share and subscribe like Adrienne said. We love you, we believe in you, and we're praying for God's highest and best for you. And until next time, keep living a life that works.